Marcus adjusted the straps on his oxygen tank, his breaths loud in the silence of the wrecked submarine. Sparks fizzled from the console, the dim emergency lights casting eerie shadows on the walls. "Great," he muttered, kicking a loose panel. "Stranded on some alien water world, and the AI's about as useful as a paperweight." The AI's monotone voice chimed, "Correction, paperweights do not require oxygen to function." Marcus rolled his eyes. "Thank you, Captain Obvious. Now, where's the repair kit?" As he rummaged through the scattered tools, the submarine groaned ominously. He stepped cautiously to the viewport, scanning the dark, swirling waters. Then, something glimmered in the distance, a faint, shifting light. At first, he thought it was just another phosphorescent creature, but the outline was unmistakably humanoid. Curiosity overrode caution. Grabbing his gear, Marcus suited up and exited through the damaged airlock. The cold water pressed against his suit as he swam toward the light. It grew brighter, revealing a figure trapped in glowing kelp. The alien woman, if he could call her that, was stunning in every sense of the word. Her translucent skin shimmered with bioluminescent hues, and her long, flowing hair writhed like tendrils in the current. She was tangled, her large, iridescent eyes locking onto him with a mix of panic and hope. "Well, that's not something you see every day," Marcus quipped. "Let's hope you're friendly." He moved closer, reaching for the kelp. The alien gestured frantically, her melodious voice muffled in the water. Marcus hesitated. "You trying to tell me something, or is this just an aquatic interpretive dance?" Ignoring his own nerves, he pulled out his knife and started cutting through the glowing strands. The kelp resisted, sticking to his gloves. "Of course, alien seaweeds gotta be clingy," he grumbled, earning a curious tilt of the alien's head. Finally, the last strand snapped, and the alien surged forward, wrapping her arms around him in what could only be described as an enthusiastic embrace. Marcus flailed. "Whoa, easy there. Personal space isn't universal, huh?" Her response was a series of melodic sounds that were equal parts enchanting and unintelligible. She pointed to the trench below and then at him, her gestures urgent. Marcus sighed. "Let me guess, you want me to follow you?" "Sure, why not? It's not like I have a working sub to get back to." She grabbed his hand, pulling him down toward the trench. Marcus struggled to keep up, his flippers kicking awkwardly against the current. As they descended, the faint glow of an underwater city came into view. Towers made of organic coral-like structures pulsed with light, and alien creatures flitted between them in synchronized movements. Marcus whistled. Not in Kansas anymore. Or Earth, for that matter. They landed near what looked like a gathering of locals. The crowd parted as the alien led him forward, her hand still tightly gripping his. Marcus felt a mix of awe and anxiety. "Okay, let's not offend the glowing mermaid people," he muttered under his breath. An elder alien stepped forward, his body adorned with shimmering bioluminescent patterns. He spoke in a deep, resonant tone, gesturing toward Marcus and then to the woman. The crowd erupted in cheers. What just happened?" Marcus asked, glancing at his companion. She beamed at him, her expression warm and triumphant. The elder approached, placing a delicate glowing wreath around Marcus's neck. "That's nice. A welcome gift, maybe?" Marcus guessed, until the elder made a sweeping gesture and announced something that caused the crowd to erupt in cheers again. The alien woman clasped her hands together, her eyes shining with delight. Marcus scratched his head. "Okay, seriously. What did I just agree to?" The elder's booming voice echoed in the bioluminescent cavern, and Marcus tried to piece together what was happening. The alien woman, still gripping his hand like a lifeline, nodded enthusiastically, her glowing hair swaying in the water like a living halo. She pointed at the wreath around his neck, then to herself, smiling with an intensity that made Marcus feel both flattered and nervous. "Okay, I'm officially out of my depth," he muttered. "Not that I wasn't before." The elder stepped closer, placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder, which seemed to signify something important. He spoke again, his voice reverberating through the water. The woman responded with a series of melodic sounds that Marcus couldn't interpret, but the excitement in her tone was unmistakable. Then she turned to him and made a series of exaggerated gestures, pointing at her chest, at him, and finally intertwining her fingers. Marcus blinked, his brain working overtime to decode her alien charades. So, you and me? Teamwork? Partnership? Wait, no. Marriage? Is this marriage? She clapped her hands excitedly, as if he just won a trivia contest. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. Oh, no. Oh, no. I was just trying to be a decent guy. Rescuing damsels, or aquatic diplomats, in distress doesn't usually come with strings attached. Definitely not glowing, alien strings. She tilted her head at him, clearly not understanding his protests. He held up his hands in a calming gesture. Listen, this is probably some big misunderstanding. We've all been there. But I think we should. Before he could finish, she turned and addressed the crowd. Her voice rang out, melodic and commanding, as she gestured at Marcus with pride. The crowd erupted into cheers again, their glowing patterns flashing in unison. Marcus groaned. Yep. Definitely married. Fantastic. The elder handed Marcus a bundle of glowing seaweed, which he hesitated to take. The alien woman nudged him with an encouraging smile, so he reluctantly accepted it. It felt slimy and warm in his hands, and he grimaced. Great. Alien wedding cake. At least it's gluten-free. The woman gestured for him to follow her again, and Marcus, still holding the glowing seaweed, let out a long sigh. Okay, sure. Let's see what other surprises are in store for the lucky human groom. She led him to a domed structure made entirely of translucent material that pulsed with light, like a living heart. Inside, Marcus was greeted by an array of strange objects laid out on an ornate table. The woman picked up a small, glowing fish and held it out to him with an expectant look. Marcus stared at the fish. You're kidding, right? Please tell me this is a centerpiece and not dinner. She gestured for him to eat, miming the motion with her hands. Marcus laughed nervously. Oh, you are serious. Look, I'm not sure if sushi's the right move here. Raw fish isn't really my. She tilted her head, her smile faltering slightly, and Marcus felt a pang of guilt. Fine. For diplomacy. Let's hope this doesn't kill me. He took the fish and hesitantly bit into it. The taste was not as bad as he'd expected, though the texture was like chewing on a gummy worm that had been left in the sun. He forced a smile. Delicious. Compliments to the chef. Her delighted clap made the effort almost worth it. Almost. The ceremony, if that's what it was, continued with more strange rituals. At one point, the woman presented him with what looked like a bundle of glowing stones. When Marcus hesitated, she explained through gestures that they were gifts. He accepted them, adding them to the growing pile of alien oddities in his arms. Either I'm married, or I've been adopted into the world's weirdest cult, Marcus muttered. Still not sure which one's worse. After what felt like hours, the crowd dispersed, leaving Marcus alone with his bride. She gestured for him to sit on a strange, jelly-like cushion, and he complied, though his exhaustion was starting to outweigh his confusion. She joined him, sitting far closer than he was comfortable with, her glowing eyes studying him intently. So, what happens now? He asked, more to himself than her. She tilted her head, clearly not understanding his words, but the warmth in her expression was universal. Marcus sighed. Yeah, I don't know either. Marcus leaned back on the jelly-like cushion, his mind a whirlpool of conflicting thoughts. The alien woman, Naren, as he decided to call her since repeating "hey, you" felt rude, was watching him with a mix of curiosity and something else he couldn't quite place. Her glowing hair shifted in mesmerizing patterns, like a bioluminescent lava lamp come to life. Okay, Naren, Marcus said cautiously, gesturing between them. What's the deal here? Is this a welcome to the neighborhood thing, or am I really your... Mate now? Naren tilted her head, mimicked his word, asterisk mate? Asterisk and nodded vigorously. Great, Marcus muttered, running a hand through his wet hair. My first alien contact, and it's a shotgun wedding. Could have at least gotten me a tux or something. Naren leaned closer, her melodic voice forming phrases he couldn't understand, but that sounded distinctly affectionate. She reached out, tracing a glowing finger along the wreath still hanging around his neck. Marcus froze. Hey, easy there. Personal space is kind of, oh, who am I kidding? You don't even know what that is, do you? Her response was a gentle laugh, which sent shivers down his spine, not entirely unpleasant ones. She picked up one of the glowing stones she'd given him earlier and held it out, tapping it twice with a delicate finger. The stone lit up, projecting an image into the water. Marcus blinked. It was a moving display, almost holographic, showing two figures that looked vaguely like Naren's species. One of them was holding another in what could only be described as a bridal carry, while the surrounding crowd flashed in approval. Oh, fantastic, Marcus groaned. It's a highlight reel of how I messed up your ritual. Naren pointed at the image, then at him, her expression warm and expectant. Yeah, I get it, he said. I'm your big, brave hero, pulling you out of whatever alien distress you were in. Except, newsflash, I had no idea what I was doing. She didn't seem to care. Her fingers danced through the water, drawing shapes that he suspected were symbols in her language. They pulsed with a faint glow, and she gestured for him to respond. Marcus scratched the back of his neck. What, you want me to write back? Lady, I don't have glowing fingers. Closest I've got is a flashlight. Undeterred, she grabbed his hand and pressed one of the stones into his palm. To his surprise, it glowed faintly, mimicking her earlier gesture. She guided his hand through the water, forming the same symbols she had. Okay, this is cool, he admitted. Interactive alien alphabet lessons. Take that, Rosetta Stone. She beamed at him, her excitement infectious. Marcus couldn't help but chuckle, despite the absurdity of it all. Here he was, stranded on an alien planet, having what might have been the weirdest honeymoon in human history. As they continued their impromptu lesson, the domed structure suddenly vibrated with a low hum. Naren's smile faded, replaced by a look of concern. She stood quickly, motioning for Marcus to follow. Uh-oh, he muttered, grabbing the pile of gifts. Guessing that's not the dinner bell. They stepped outside to find the underwater city in a state of organized chaos. Aliens were swimming hurriedly in all directions, their bioluminescent patterns flickering like warning lights. Marcus spotted the elder from earlier, who was gesturing wildly at a group of armed guards. Naren turned to Marcus, her hands moving rapidly as she tried to explain. He caught a few of the symbols she taught him, danger, trouble, and, alarmingly, you. Me, he asked, pointing at himself. What did I do now? Before she could respond, a booming sound echoed through the trench, followed by a massive shadow sweeping over the city. Marcus craned his neck, his heart sinking as he spotted the source of the commotion. A gigantic, eel-like creature with glowing red eyes was descending toward the city, its massive jaws snapping at anything in its path. The armed guards swarmed toward it, their weapons firing bursts of light that seemed to do little more than annoy the beast. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, Marcus said. This place has kaiju, too? Naren grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the center of the city. He stumbled along, trying not to drop the glowing seaweed bundle. Any chance your people have a plan B? Or do I have to play action hero again? She stopped abruptly and turned to face him, her glowing hair flaring like a beacon. Her expression was resolute, her gestures clear. She pointed at him, then at herself, and finally at the massive creature. Marcus groaned. Let me guess, you want us to team up and take down that thing together. Because that's totally in my skill set. Naren nodded, her determination unwavering. She held up one of the glowing stones and tapped it 3 times, causing it to emit a low-frequency hum. The sound resonated through the water, drawing the creature's attention. Marcus stared at her, his mind racing. Okay, you've got a plan. I hope it doesn't involve me becoming fish food. The water trembled as the massive eel-like creature lunged closer, its glowing red eyes locking onto the source of the low-frequency hum. Marcus tightened his grip on the stone Naren had handed him, feeling its steady vibration pulse through his fingers. She motioned quickly, her movements sharp and deliberate, signaling him to follow her lead. Okay, so, teamwork, Marcus muttered, watching her dart through the water with an agility that left him in awe. You take the lead. I'll try not to drown. Naren swam toward a series of glowing orbs embedded into the walls of the trench. With a single touch, she activated them, and their light began to pulse in a sequence that seemed to agitate the creature. Marcus followed her lead, using his own stone to tap at the orbs she pointed out, their vibrations resonating louder with each interaction. Not sure what we're doing, Marcus grunted, dodging the swipe of a massive fin as the creature thrashed, but it's definitely pissing this thing off. Naren responded with a series of quick gestures, but Marcus could only shrug. Still not fluent in underwater charades, he called, narrowly avoiding a collision with a piece of floating debris. The eel roared, a deep, guttural sound that rippled through the water. It lunged at the orbs, its jaws snapping shut around them, only to recoil as the glowing spheres released bursts of light that forced it back. Oh, so that's the plan, Marcus realized, fumbling with the stone in his hand. You're baiting it. Naren nodded, her glowing hair fanning out like a halo as she swam toward another set of orbs. Marcus hesitated, watching as the creature redirected its attention toward her. Great, he muttered, kicking into motion. Leave it to me to marry the one alien who thinks playing chicken with a sea monster is a good idea. With Naren drawing the creature's attention, Marcus swam to another section of the trench and began activating more orbs. Each one emitted a sharp pulse that joined the growing symphony of vibrations, creating a pattern that seemed to confuse and disorient the massive predator. The creature roared again, thrashing wildly as it struggled to focus on a single target. Naren took the opportunity to swim back toward Marcus, grabbing his hand and pointing upward. You want us to go up now? Marcus asked, following her gaze. High above them, the trench walls gave way to an open expanse of water, where the faint glow of sunlight filtered through the depths. Naren nodded, tugging him upward as the creature began to shake off its disorientation. Marcus swam as hard as he could, his legs burning with the effort, but Naren's strength and speed kept him from lagging behind. As they ascended, Marcus spotted a massive structure jutting out from the side of the trench, a spiraling tower made of the same translucent material as the dome he'd been inside earlier. Naren led him toward it, her gestures urgent. Let me guess, Marcus panted, clutching his side. That's the alien equivalent of a panic room? She didn't answer, instead pulling him through a narrow opening at the tower's base. Inside, Marcus found himself in a chamber filled with more glowing orbs, each one emitting a soft, rhythmic hum. Before he could ask what they were for, Naren placed a hand on his chest, stopping him in his tracks. She gestured toward the orbs, then back at the trench below, where the creature's massive shadow was still visible. You want me to, what? Activate these things? Marcus asked, pointing at the orbs. While you, what? Distracted again? Naren gave him a determined nod, her glowing eyes locking onto his. Marcus sighed. Right. Of course. Because that worked so well the first time. She placed her stone in his hand, closing his fingers around it with a reassuring smile. Then, without another word, she darted out of the tower and back into the open water. Marcus stared after her, his heart pounding. You'd better know what you're doing, he muttered, turning his attention to the orbs. He began tapping them in sequence, mimicking the pattern Naren had shown him earlier. The vibrations grew stronger, resonating through the chamber until the walls themselves seemed to hum. Outside, the creature let out another roar, its massive form closing in on the tower. Come on, Marcus muttered, activating the final orb. The vibrations reached a crescendo, and a burst of light erupted from the tower, shooting upward like a beacon. The creature recoiled, its red eyes dimming as the light enveloped it. Marcus watched in awe as the massive eel thrashed one last time before retreating into the depths of the trench, its glowing form fading into the darkness. Moments later, Naren swam back into the chamber, her smile triumphant. Marcus let out a shaky laugh, collapsing onto one of the jelly-like cushions. Well, he said, catching his breath, that was wild. Naren tilted her head, mimicking the word. Wild, she repeated, her voice soft and melodic. Marcus laughed again, shaking his head. You have no idea.